The trip that was supposed to be about me and my fiance turned out the complete opposite of that, as we got ignored the whole weekend. I'm 25M, and my fiance is 24F. I have 3 older siblings, all of which are married, and 2 of which have very young kids. My 3 older siblings all got married to their spouses back in 2018 to 2019, with all 3 weddings happen within the span of 11 months. I was in all 3 weddings, and was my brother's best man. At each one, I helped set up and tear down the decorations at the venue, set out and clean up tables and chairs, stayed late to help clean up, made sure everything went smoothly, the works. Now, my oldest sister, who we'll call Rachel, has a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and my brother has a 5-month-old. My fiance and I got engaged back in September, and our wedding is next month. A few months ago, Rachel approached me and said that she wanted to get the whole family together to celebrate my fiance and I, saying that I was always supportive and helping at their weddings and that she wanted to celebrate us. I agreed, so she messaged our family group chat and presented the idea that we all get an Airbnb in the mountains. She told everyone the weekend was to celebrate my fiance and I. The family agreed, so Rachel planned the whole thing. For some context, my siblings and I have always been close and like to all hang out together at family gatherings and holidays, and sometimes just whenever we can. However, ever since my siblings started having kids, every single family gathering has become completely focused on the little ones. While I absolutely love my nieces and nephews, sitting and watching a toddler and baby roll around on the floor, open presents, eat their snacks, and listen to my siblings talk about their children, what stage they're at, what random cute thing their kid did last week, is not exactly my idea of fun. My fiancé agrees. This past weekend was the cabin trip to celebrate my fiancé and I. Going into the weekend, we both expected that it wasn't actually going to be about us and was just going to wind up with everyone fawning over the little ones. The whole family said multiple times before the trip that it was a celebration weekend for my fiancé and I. They specifically said we didn't have to pay for the Airbnb because it was for us. Well, when we got there, it quickly became clear that it wasn't going to be about us at all. We were there for about 30 minutes before Rachel and her husband left to go to the store and left their kids at the cabin with us. Her baby immediately started crying and screaming the entire time Rachel was gone because she can't be separated from Rachel. Rachel and her husband were gone for almost 2.5 hours. When they finally got back, they announced that Rachel is pregnant again. That was only the first night. The next morning, my other sister, who I'll call Sam, and her husband left around 9 a.m. to go hang out with some of their friends that lived near the cabin we rented. They didn't come back until after lunch. The rest of the weekend was filled with my parents and other siblings playing with the kids and talking to Rachel about the kids. My fiancé and I participated for a bit, because we wanted to hang out with my family, but it was very boring for us. All anyone ever wants to talk about is the kids, and all anyone ever wants to do is play with the kids. The only exception to this is my brother, who played a board game with my fiancé and I, that is until Rachel came back inside with her baby who immediately started screaming and crying again. At the end of the second day, my dad brought out a flash drive that contained about 40 hours of old home videos from VHS tapes that he had recently gotten digitized. Everyone else agreed that they wanted to watch the videos. I wasn't thrilled about the idea, but I was down because I thought it would be sentimental. I was the only one who brought a laptop, so I cast it to the TV and we started watching. Because there was so much, we had to do a lot of fast forwarding. It quickly became clear that 99% of the videos were from before I was born. My family was ordering me around on when to scrub forward, when to go back, when to stop, all of that. I offered several times to let someone else control it, but they kept saying things like you just want to skip to the parts here, and which wasn't the case at all. In fact, I didn't want to watch them in the first place. My fiancé felt completely alienated during this little watch party, but neither of us felt like we could go do something else because this is a family activity and I felt like it would be rude to leave or even suggest we stop and do something else. We wound up watching old VHS tapes of my siblings' childhoods for around an hour and a half before they decided they wanted to go have a bonfire. Sitting around the campfire, my siblings reminisced on old stories from their childhoods, their college stories, their old dating stories, none of which had to do with me or my fiancé. The only time they ever talked about a memory involving me was when they brought up embarrassing stories about me and laughing about them, teasing me for them. I can take a joke and laugh at myself, but that was literally the only time they talked about me. Towards the end of the night, as the fire was dying down, everyone had gone to bed except my fiancé and I and Rachel and her husband. Everyone was leaving the next morning, and Rachel asked me, well, did you have any other dreams or anything you wanted to do this weekend? As if we had completely checked off my list of things I wanted to do. Mind you, she asked me this around 11:30 at night on the last night there, when everyone had already gone to bed, and everyone was leaving the next morning. I just kinda smiled and said no. Rachel asked if I was okay, and that I seemed upset, but I just smiled and said I was just exhausted, which was true. The next morning, before everyone left, we had a birthday party for Rachel's youngest child, whose first birthday was 2 days away. This wasn't a part of the plan, and no one in the family group chat discussed this beforehand. Everyone brought presents for the baby, and we spent about an hour watching Rachel open presents for her 1-year-old. I was exhausted and done with the whole thing, so I went and took a shower while they did that. While I was getting dressed after my shower, my brother knocked on the door and told me to hurry up because they were ready to leave and wanted to say bye. After my brother and my other sister left, my dad pointed out a stack of 3 gift cards on the coffee table for my fiance and I. We opened them by ourselves on the couch while Rachel and her husband and my parents got the kids ready to leave. One was from my parents, one from Sam, and one from my grandparents who weren't even there. My grandparents had given us a gift card with $150 on it, and Sam had given us a $25 gift card. I don't want to sound ungrateful for those, my fiancé and I greatly appreciate the gifts. All in all, not a single part of the weekend was about us, but was completely about the children. This was par for the course of my family's gatherings the last few years. I wouldn't have cared or been hurt at all about this if this weekend had just been a family gathering. But they went out of their way to say it was a celebration of my fiancé and I. They said many times that I was about us and to love on us, but not a single part of that weekend was about us. We got a few cards, but we weren't even given them. They were just left on the table. My dad had to point them out, like he almost forgot. If my fiancé and I hadn't been there, the weekend would have looked exactly the same. I know I probably sound ungrateful or self-centered about the whole thing. I'm very conflicted about the fact that I'm even upset. But they literally said, several times, that the whole point of this trip was to celebrate my fiancé and I and be about us. I feel like I can't really tell anyone in my family how I feel about it without sounding like a butthole who just wants all the attention. Am I in the wrong here? Should I even bother talking to Rachel or any of my other siblings?